Hi, I am Life Coach Latricia Booker with Kingdom Business, where we are empowered, where we heal, get delivered, and free, where we know who we are, where we elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose, the truth of who we really are. And so, in this video, I want to talk to you about what you do with your triggers. And so many a times in life, as we know, we experience things, different things in our lives traumatize us. We get wounds because we've had hurts, and we may get damaged in certain areas. And so as you're going on through life, you're trying to cope with these things. You're trying to make the best out of your life. You're trying to, for the most part, overcome those things, whether you know it or not. And sometimes things happen because we have no other choice but to be in life. And when things happen, we may get triggered. Someone may say something that triggers something in us. And usually when that happens, it's because we have an unhealed wound, or we just have something there that needs to be dealt with, that needs to be looked at deeper. So, what is a trigger? For the most part, a trigger is something that causes you to feel some kind of hurt as you felt it in some past experience. And so, again, someone may say something that triggers you in a way where it takes you back to a previous place where you experience hurt, where you experience some kind of pain. So, what happens is we can remove these triggers. We can remove these triggers. And that's what I want to speak to you all about. Removing those triggers. Do this with your triggers so that you won't have those triggers anymore. And I'm sure you may have heard this. You know how they say people know how to push your buttons. Well, when people are pushing your buttons, what they're really doing is pushing your triggers, whether they're trying to or not. The point of the matter is you want to remove those triggers so that they cannot be a trigger anymore. You want to remove those triggers so no one can push your buttons ever again. How do you do that? Well, first things first. If someone is saying something to you that pushes your button, that's a trigger. The first thing that you really want to do is look at why that's a trigger for you. And the reason why you want to do that is because that'll help you get to the root of the problem as to why that trigger is even there. And so you may have to do a little reflecting. You may have to contemplate. You might have to go deep. You might have to ask some questions. But in doing all of those things, you will get to the bottom of why that trigger is even there. Sometimes in a situation where a person may have mommy issues and they had a certain kind of relationship with their mother. Let's just say you had a mother that someone had a mother that was negligent or abandoned them. And so let's say later in life, they may get in a relationship. And I know many of you have heard of abandonment issues. They may be in a relationship and certain behaviors with their mate may make them remember the abandonment that they experienced with their mother. And so what happens when certain things are happening, they may be triggered. It triggers that in them, that wound in them from where they experienced that with their mother. Now, the thing is this, it may not be the case. What they're seeing and experiencing with their mate may not be the same thing as what they experienced with their mother. But if it looks like it, it may trigger that abandonment feeling within them. It very well may trigger it. Okay, I'll give you another example. Yeah, in relationships, we sometimes experience betrayal. And so many a times when we experience betrayal, we can go into a new relationship thinking that certain things are a sign of betrayal because of what we previously experienced. And so that may trigger us, and they may trigger certain things that are happening in your present relationship, may trigger certain behaviors in you because it takes you back to what you previously experienced, even though that very well may not be what it is. Now, I'm saying all that to say, what you do with that is when you feeling yourself being triggered, first of all, you have to know that what you are experiencing is not the same as what you previously experienced. Now, I have to say this. You have to make sure that that is the case first. You have to know that that is the case. How do you know that? God will show you. God will make you aware. If you don't know, ask Him. And 9 times out of 10, if God is the one orchestrating your new relationship, if God is the one that put it together, and you know that, then that's a clear way of knowing. Now, if that's not the case, I really don't know what to tell you concerning that. But the point is, when you know that this is a relationship that was orchestrated divinely by God, you know that what you think you're seeing is not what you previously saw. Okay. So again, you have to know that first. Now, each time that you feel triggered, each time that you see a behavior from your partner that takes you back to what you previously experienced, you have to stop yourself in your tracks and separate the two. Number one, you have to take a really deep look at why you are being triggered. Where does that stem from? Let's get to the root of that. Let's get to the root of that. Let's dig that up. And if you need help doing that, because sometimes people don't know how to do those things on their own, or it may be just a bit much, because it can be painful to dig deep into some places that were very hurtful and some places where you've been traumatized. So I would encourage you to work with a therapist or a life coach or a psychiatrist, whatever, a counselor, whatever it is that's available to you. I would encourage you to work with someone so that you can work through these issues so that you can remove those triggers. So, again, we want to go to the root of the problem. Ask questions, explore, go really deep so you can see where that stemmed from. Personally, for me, I had come to the realization that I had trust issues um, because of things that I experienced. And it stemmed from being a little girl and seeing people being untrustworthy, seeing people in relationships not being loyal and faithful, being in relationships where that has happened and transpired. Also, in society, in the media, in television, whatever, it's being perpetuating. We see it over and over again. People not being loyal, people not being trustworthy, people what they call cheating on their mate. So it can affect your psyche and it can make you feel like no one is trustworthy. And again, if you're seeing a behavior that looks like what you previously seen, you can automatically be triggered. But again, you have to separate the two. Go deep. Find out where this stems from, and then you have to do the work. You have to work at it. You have to heal around those beliefs. You have to heal your mind. You have to heal those beliefs. You have to give yourself a new belief. I was just having an experience where I was sharing with a friend of mine some behaviors that my daughter was having. She had special needs. And so after speaking about what had been going on, which hasn't been pleasant, I thought about it later. It occurred to me, don't talk about what you don't want to see. Even if it's happening, talk about what you want to see. And so I know that. And I've learned that. But I wasn't doing that then. I had slipped away from that in those moments of having these experiences. I was perpetuating what was happening by talking about it instead of keeping my mouth closed to it and focusing in on what I prefer to see. Maybe even talking about what I prefer to see. So, I'm saying all that to say you can do that in giving yourself new beliefs surrounding trust. You can you can teach yourself that people are trustworthy or that your mate is trustworthy, especially if you know they are. You have to retrain your mind because, again, so many things have been perpetuated to say that people are not trustworthy. People cheat. People lie. People betray. And while it is true, it does not have to be your truth. And so, another thing you can do is pay attention to situations and relationships where that isn't the case, where people are trustworthy, where people don't cheat on their mate, where people don't betray. Because the very fact that you are aware that it's happening in any situation gives you hope and lets you know that it is possible. It is possible. So you do whatever it is you need to do and pay attention to the positive things and the good examples of a relationship in this case to help yourself retrain your brain and your mind and your thinking and your psyche into knowing that you are in a trustworthy situation. And that is how you remove the trigger. When you retrain your brain, you retrain your mind, after you've gotten to the root of why you think that anyway, give yourself more positive examples where what you experience isn't the case, but the good thing is the case because there are plenty of good things to focus in on. Unfortunately, it's a lot of not so good things, but we want to keep our attention on what we want. Keep your attention on what you want. Now, by all means, if you're dealing with someone who's not trustworthy, it is what it is. That's a whole nother video as to what you need to do there. But right now, we're talking about when you're in a situation with someone and you know they're trustworthy because God has told you so. However, you keep being triggered because of your past experiences, because of your past traumas. And it's not to bash anyone from your past because we're all human. We all have error. We all have mistakes. And most times when someone is doing something that's whether being betrayed, they're betraying you, being non-trustworthy, they're cheating, they're having issues of their own, which is why they're acting out that behavior. That's their issue and their problems, whatever they have going on within them that they have experienced that causes them to behave in this way. And you have to know how to separate yourself from their issues, even though they have affected you. Even though they have affected you. So now you have to do your work. Even though this has affected you, you have to do your work. You have to take responsibility for yourself and remove those triggers so that when these things come up, it won't look the same. It won't be a trigger. Now, in a situation where you are in a relationship, whether it be with a spouse or a friend or a parent and mother kind of relationship, whatever it may be, if you're in a safe relationship where you can share your concerns or share what's going on with you, where you can let them know, listen, when you do this, this triggers me. Can you refrain from doing this, that, and the other? Or they may even offer a person who really cares about you and really wants to see you thrive and recover from whatever issues you're having. They will offer to adjust their behavior for you. Now the thing here is, while they're willing to do that, which is great, you still need to do the work because you still want to remove those triggers, because sometimes we don't want a person to have to behave a certain kind of a way, or we don't want to take away from them who they are. Not that that's always the case, but I'm saying that to say if you get too comfortable asking someone to adjust their behavior because So because you're not dealing with your own insecurity, that can cause further and future problems. So while your partner, your friend, your relative, whoever it may be, is willing to accommodate you while you're doing the work, make sure you're doing the work. Make sure you're doing the work, because you still want to remove that. You want to overcome. You want to remove whatever the insecurities are. You want to remove the wrong way of thinking so you can have the right way of thinking. And that way, your relationship with whomever it is can become healthier, and it can grow and sprout and blossom into something just so beautiful. Something so beautiful. And so it goes the other way around. You have to be willing to do the same thing for whoever that is that you're in a relationship with. Again, whether it be a spouse, a mate, a mother, a friend, whoever it may be, you have to be willing to do the same for them. So that is what you do to remove your triggers. You do the work. You do the work. You get to the root of the problem. You heal it. You change your beliefs surrounding it. You look for positive examples that show you different from what you have experienced so that you know that it's possible. And you rewrite that into your story. You rewrite that positive story into your life. You rewrite it. And again, when you're dealing with it with a mate and a mate is willing to accommodate you, continue to do the work and make sure you're accommodating whoever the person is that you're in relationship with. And it just makes everything all the better. So do this and remove your triggers. It works, people. It works. How do I know? I've done it and I'm doing it. And so with that, I'm going to wrap it up. So you guys, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Click on that bell right next to that subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video. Also, you can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at Latricia Booker. And you can connect with me on Twitter at Kingdom Business 9. That is Kingdom Business with one S and the number 9. And so you guys, that is my time. So you already know I'm out. Peace.